What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Wolves Den. I'm your host Victor, and today I'm doing my first ranking video on the channel. I will be doing a ranking of the 6 live-action Resident Evil movies. Now, just to further clarify, it's only those 6. I am excluding the CGI movies. They are in their own category with the games, actually, since they go canon with those. I am just doing the 6 movies, the 5 that are in that box, and then including the new movie that just came out. So, without further ado, here we go. So to start off at number 6, the worst one, to me, it ended up being the new one, Resident Evil, the final chapter. I've already got a review on my channel of that. It's the previous video before this one. So, if you want to get full details about it, watch that review and you'll know my thoughts on it. But one thing I will say is that it completely screwed over the entire storyline of the other 5 movies. It had it had such an atrocious plot twist, story in general within its own one movie story, and it disrespected its own star character. It pissed me off the whole way watching it. But number 6, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. And coming in at number 5, for me at least, Resident Evil Afterlife, the 4th movie of the franchise. And to me, that one was just flat out bad. There was nothing good about it, honestly. Anything that could have been good was stuff that was copied and pasted from aspects of the games. So if they were original creations, they could have been cool then, but they literally just plucked them out of the games, put them in. Some things that should have had explanation that were of that nature didn't get the explanation. Some fight choreography that was literally, if you've seen these movies, there was a fight with Wesker that was extracted right out of Resident Evil 5. And it looked cool when playing the game, but when they were doing it for the movie, it was just ugly. The special effects were god-awful, as usual. The story was getting on a more ridiculous level than what the first 3 had done. And it's just, the script was horrible, screenplay was bad, characters were just dumb, and it just led to a retarded conclusion for the individual movie with, the eventual lead up. So number 5, Resident Evil Afterlife. So coming in at number 4 for me is Resident Evil Retribution. Literally it has the same problems as Afterlife does. The only difference though is there's actually some moments within this movie, for me, compared to it and the final chapter, that I was actually able to have some stupid entertainment, which is why to me this is better than Afterlife and the final chapter. The biggest problem though that this and Afterlife have is the usage of main game characters. They're just plucked there for fan service. They're not even utilized right. It would have been honestly better. I won't even say that though. It would have maybe made a little more sense if it was just other fictional people like Alice who were in those roles. They had their quick moment to shine just to make us fans excited. But again, this actually had some moments where I could have a little stupid fun. So Retribution, number 4 for my list. Now for me, coming in at number 3, which will be a little bit of surprise to the Resident Evil fans who judge the movies, is actually the first Resident Evil. By most standards, it's always flip-flopping between this and Apocalypse on popular lists. But to me, I get entertainment from this one, some, but with what it was pretty boring. Honestly, it had the setting of a horror movie, but it was presented in an action-y way. And if you have the right director and writing, whatever, that can work and whatnot. But with what was used, it just didn't mix well. And even though there's moments I can appreciate as a fan of the games, it was almost like it was trying to mimic the games, but did it incorrectly. And then at the same time, it was like it was trying to start up this action franchise, and even did that, I wouldn't say incorrectly, but inappropriately. It was just, it's weird, but these top three though are actually ones where you can actually not be too pissed while watching. You can get some entertainment from this one and the next two that are coming up at least. So again, number 3, Resident Evil, the first movie. Now we're getting to the top 2. These two I actually did have to figure out a little bit. It's not necessarily a how I'm feeling, vice versa, switching around type of thing. I'm pretty solid with these two being where they are, but I did have to figure it out a little bit. Not gonna lie, because I do get personally the most enjoyment from these first two. But at number 2, I have Resident Evil Extinction, the third movie in the franchise. And for this one, I mean, this is where things did actually legit start to get a little ridiculous with how these movies ended up being with over the top and not making sense. But for me, I really like the desert setting. I liked how they used the crows. I will admit that there was that big fight with the crows, and eventually there was a flamethrower put in the mix, and they were all set ablaze and whatever. So it actually had some pretty cool action set pieces for what these movies are. So yeah, I like the setting. Alice was actually somewhat likable, in a sense. And I actually enjoyed the sense of danger that was actually applied into this movie. Again, they were in this desert setting. The virus has spread across the world, at least according to the movie. The virus spread across the world. Supplies are low. Everybody's moving with vehicles, so they have to try and find gas stations that will hopefully have gas. They got to keep their eyes open around every corner, because who knows if there's going to be some form of a zombie, some form of BOW in general, honestly. Most likely a zombie, but a BOW in general. And I had a lot of enjoyment from this one. Yeah, every time I went into these movies, I go into them knowing they're not the best. If you expect an amazement from any of these movies, though, you will be disappointed. So knowing how these movies are, I was able to actually watch this and number 1 with some enjoyment, and even the third one, but mainly this and the first one. So number 2, Resident Evil Extinction. Now, to me, what is probably the best one of the bunch, and I'm saying best loosely for obvious reasons if you're a Resident Evil fan, but number 1, Resident Evil Apocalypse. This is the one where they actually sort of adopted the Resident Evil 3 game in a sense, because there's a heavy emphasis on Nemesis. In the game, he's chasing Jill around the whole time. You never know when you're going to fight him. It's got a similar thing here. Nemesis, he is just after the members of STARS, just like in the games. And I consider Nemesis would be pretty hard to create for a live action movie. If they put him in one of the CG movies, that would be pretty cool. But as far as a live action movie is concerned, he'd be pretty hard to create. But as a fan of the games, I'm very content with how he looks, because he's not a CG creature like what you'll see later on in the movies. He's just, he's a practical effect. He's literally a giant practical effect, and not a CG effect. And I'm content with that, because I'm a practical effects kind of guy. So I can respect that they actually tried to do that instead of just relied on a computer. And so he's fucking shit up the whole time. It's pretty cool, especially if you're a fan of the third game. And at the end of the movie, him and Alice have this big showdown, which it's a typical, in these movies that is, it's a typical Resident Evil fight. But it's more forgiving in a sense, because it's not as over the top. This is probably the one that you can get the most enjoyment out of with how its action is. All these movies are not good. This one is easily the most enjoyable to watch, though. Especially if you're a Resident Evil fan and you decide to, for some reason, watch one of these movies, this one you can at least get some enjoyment out of. And that's how it is for me. From start to finish, I was able to get some form of enjoyment. There's moments throughout it, though, where I'm just like, wow, seriously, you guys actually did this. Like, wow. But in the end, though, this is along with Extinction, or I can end this movie without being pissed off. With, you know, in this in particular. So yeah, that was my list, guys. From worst to first, it was the final chapter, Afterlife, Retribution, the first movie, Extinction, and then Apocalypse. I'm not gonna suggest any just regular average Joe to watch these movies. The only people I will suggest watching these are the fans of the games, just so they can have that comparison. That's the only reason why I've seen these, and I even purposefully watched the sixth movie in theaters, is just because I'm a fan of the games. I need to see the adaptation, and knowing how bad these are, I gotta see how badly they got fucked up. That way I can get pissed off and then enjoy the games even more. So if Resident Evil fans out there, please watch these movies, criticize the hell out of them, and pray to God we get a proper adaptation one of these days. Whether it be, and I don't mean those CGI movies. Those CGI movies are fine. I cannot wait for Vendetta. I'm hyped for that. But as far as a live action adaptation, let's hope that we get a proper movie series, or even like maybe a TV show, you know, something, and it's done right, completely respects the source material. I would love for that. Let me know down below what your personal list is. Which one's your favorite? Which one's your least favorite? If you've seen the new one, if you haven't seen the new one, do the list of the 5. Then if you've seen these first 5, definitely hit that like button if you're a fan of Resident Evil, though, because I will be mentioning them on here in some way, shape, or form. You can comment to me about stuff. I will be talking back. I love Resident Evil. It's my favorite series, game series. Just to sadly clarify that, because that's the age we're in. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Stick around, see what I bring up to you guys. Wait for my future reviews, see what I got. Watch my previous videos. Be a great help. I'd appreciate it. You're more than welcome to come to the den if you subscribe. Let me know down below what you think I should review next, whether it's a theater movie or a Blu-ray or DVD movie. I could easily just review movies that I own, but I'd like to see what you guys want to know. So till the next thing I put up, you guys take it easy.